from the Arkansas Storm Team, tracking winter weather.
And here we go. Another winter storm warning goes into effect at 6 p.m. and the Arkansas Storm Team is tracking it all right now. Fox 16 Chief Meteorologist Jeff Baskin, you're looking at brand new weather information. We don't want to waste any time. These are important updates everyone needs to hear.
Storm. We just got done with one, just in the process of cleaning up the existing one, and now here we go again. More snow and sleet is going to enter the state late tonight, so should be okay for this evening. Maybe if you're able to get out there, it'd be a good time to do it. I mean, right now, actually, this afternoon is about as good as it's going to get over the next couple of days, and tonight we have to worry about the sun going down and some of the slushy areas and wet areas possibly turning into ice. Now, here's a look at what we have right now. Another winter storm warning for most of Arkansas. That warning starts at 6 o'clock. I do want to emphasize that just because the warning starts at 6 o'clock, that does not mean that weather conditions are going to start going downhill right where you are right at 6 p.m. That would be the earliest that any of the winter storm warning area is affected. And that would be western Arkansas after 6 p.m. with some snow coming on in, likely snow not reaching central Arkansas until closer to midnight. Here's what we're expecting with this round. Again, it's going to be mostly snow for central Arkansas. So the change that is from yesterday is that snow mix, the snow sleet mix, is now confined to farther south. So from, say, Camden over towards Monticello, there may be some sleet mix, but it looks like it's going to be more snow with some sleet mix. And the freezing rain and sleet mix now confined mainly to far southeast Arkansas, Ashley and Chico County, where it looks like it's going to be a combination of freezing rain and some sleet. Now, as we take a look at what's going on right now, we actually had some clearing, and that allowed temperatures to drop well below zero across parts of the state for this morning, especially with that fresh snow cover. But notice that clouds already are on the increase. And here's the next storm system coming on into Texas. Already some snow starting to redevelop across parts of the Texas Panhandle, now west of Dallas, moving into parts of Oklahoma. That will likely be in Oklahoma City by later on this afternoon. But right now we still have clear conditions across Arkansas, though those clouds starting to increase. So as we take a look at the forecast map going through the overnight hours into tomorrow, notice by about, say, 6 o'clock, some of that snow getting into western Arkansas. Now, the really light blue areas, likely we're not going to see any snow in those areas as the air is still relatively dry to begin with. So it may look like the snow is coming in a little bit sooner than what the graphic indicates. Now, as we take a look into 10 o'clock, some of that snow really starting to increase across parts of western Arkansas, just started to move into central portions of the state. And then that snow really starts to pick up as we go into the late overnight hours, into the pre-dawn. That's when we're going to have to be concerned about some of that heavier snow starting to develop across parts of the state. Now, as we take a look at what we have going into the mid-morning hours, some of that heavier snow continues to increase as we go through the morning and into the midday. There is that pink area that you see across parts of South Arkansas, and that area is where there's going to be some sleet mix. But notice you're not seeing a lot more blue in South Central Arkansas than you were seeing pink. Yesterday, the computer models indicating that there'd be a layer of warm air coming up aloft, and that would transition the snow to some sleet. Now we're looking at less of that, and that's going to be more in the way of snow for South Arkansas. But there's still going to be some sleet mix as we go into Wednesday evening, some lingering snow into Thursday morning, and then everything starts to push out of the state as we go into Thursday evening. Now, as we take a look at forecast snowfall totals, there's been some changes here. The main change is that 6 to 10 inch potential area has been shifted southward a little bit. It still does include Little Rock metro area over towards Hot Springs, Arkadelphia, Pine Bluff. And so some of the same areas that wound up with 6, 7, 8 inches of snow may wind up with another half a foot in some spots. Northern Arkansas snowfall forecast has been trimmed down in some spots, say from Russellville over towards Clinton, but still a likelihood of about 3 to possibly locally up to around 6 inches. Far south Arkansas, the snowfall totals have come up a bit because of less sleet mix. So say south of Camden and Monticello, still potential for 3 to 6 inches, and extreme southeast Arkansas where not much snow, but it's going to be more in the form of sleet. 1 to 2, possibly 3 inches of mainly sleet for far south. Now, temperatures also have been a big concern. Temperatures this morning down record cold territory, actually the coldest we've seen in over 30 years. In the case of Arkadelphia, the coldest temperature on record. Tonight, not as cold, but still, by Arkansas standards, this is still going to be record cold, even though it's not going to be nearly as cold as last night. For the most part, temperatures will hold into the teens. It will feel like single numbers with the wind. And as we go into the day tomorrow, temperatures warm up a little bit, up into the mid-20s, but we still stay below freezing across the entire state. Wind chill values down into the mid-teens and low 20s. And as we get into Thursday night, skies clear back out. That's going to mean temperatures once again take a plunge, potentially back down into the single numbers across central Arkansas by Friday morning, possibly even some below zero readings north with all that snow on the ground. So the worst of the cold is over with, but we're still dealing with this third round of winter weather that's going to be coming on in. So the improvement that we've seen in road conditions this afternoon is going to be very short-lived. By about midnight, we're going to start to see some road conditions really going back downhill as that new snow starts to come on down. At the same time, any of that water out there or slushiness will freeze up a little bit more. It'll get a little bit harder, and that's going to make things quite a bit more slick. In addition to that, what you're going to see this time is kind of that icy slush underneath the snow. So that's going to make things extra slippery for later on tonight going into tomorrow morning. So I'm thinking tomorrow morning really is going to be, in most locations, at least as bad as what we saw Monday morning, potentially even worse. So I think it's going to be very dangerous travel as we get into tomorrow morning, and that snow and sleet is going to continue through much of the day. So conditions will likely continue to deteriorate. And Thursday morning, not expecting anything to be really better. Thursday afternoon, temperatures won't get above freezing, and that's going to mean that things really won't start to even improve until we get into Friday afternoon. This is going to be a very slow process to pull out of. But, Mitch, looking down the road a little bit.
Jeff, at this point, I'm thinking about just cutting your mic. No, I'm kidding.
Well,
this is here we go again, right?
Well, don't cut my mic yet, because
No.
I'm getting to the good part.
Okay.
If you don't want a fourth storm, I got some good news.
Okay, yeah, no, we got the mic's good now.
Yeah, suddenly it cleared up. But if we can melt off most of the snow, temperatures may be in the 60s by this time next week. Which
would really help clear out all the snow.
It's gonna, yeah. If there's any remaining snow, will quickly move on out, and especially those nighttime temperatures will be important too, because we won't have to worry about any refreezing at night if the temperatures don't get back down to freezing during the overnight hours, of course. So that'll be good. So that would rapidly melt off any of that remaining snow. But through the weekend, those temperatures are going to remain pretty chilly, because with all that snow on the ground, that's going to keep those surface temperatures pretty cold. So high temperatures likely only in the 30s, even going into Saturday, whereas if we didn't have any snow on the ground, our temperatures would easily be back up into the 50s on Saturday, but that's not going to happen with all the snow that we have.
All I think about is this next snowstorm coming in. I hope we can get to 60 soon. For folks just joining us here on all of our digital platforms, Jeff, can you just walk through the timing of when snow is going to start again tonight? Just because that winter storm warning begins at 6 p.m., you were saying, doesn't necessarily mean that that's when the snow is actually going to start.
Yeah, it's not going to start everywhere within the warning area at 6 p.m. So we'll take you through the timing of this. As we get towards about 6 o'clock, that snow starts getting into western Arkansas. It looks like it's getting into central Arkansas too, but it won't get here quite that fast. But as we get towards about, say, 10, 11 o'clock, over towards midnight, that's when that snow is going to start to pick up across central Arkansas. And as we go through the morning hours, that's when we'll have that heavier snow really pick up central and south. Northern Arkansas, you might get a little bit of a break tomorrow afternoon, but then it looks like we actually get another wave coming in as we get into Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, especially across parts of central Arkansas, eastern and southeast. And that snow may pick up briefly again as we get into overnight Wednesday, Thursday morning across northern Arkansas. And we're probably not going to be completely done with the snow until about noon on Thursday. We'll see the last of the snow exit the state, and maybe, if we're lucky, a little bit of clearing. But right now, I think we'll probably stay cloudy through most of the afternoon on Thursday. And that means that there's not going to be much improvement in the roads as we go into Thursday and Thursday night. So Friday morning, still likely to be some rather rough travel. But hopefully by Friday, as we start to clear out, we'll get some sunshine in there, and that's going to help to warm things up as those temperatures get above freezing, especially if we can get some sunshine. That will help immensely. And by Saturday, I think that, there may still be some icy spots even as late as Saturday, but I think that travel will be generally okay in most spots. And hopefully by Sunday, we can, all of the roads will be completely clear again, and we won't have to deal with the winter weather maybe for another 5 years, Mitch.
Well, this is certainly a winter storm of a lifetime. The governor just held his press conference, Jeff, and the governor said this is, in his opinion, the worst severe weather event. He used the word severe weather. I think he's talking about winter weather event of his lifetime.
This is historic, and when you look at it from the perspective of having 3 back-to-back storms, we had the ice and sleet event last week, which was more in the neighborhood of a regular significant winter weather event for Arkansas. An inch or two of sleet here and there messed up the roads, and then things got better pretty quickly. And then the much more significant storm that we had that came through Sunday and Monday, and that turned into a blockbuster in many spots. And then we're looking at yet another one by Arkansas standards to be a blockbuster storm. So this will be 3 very major winter storms coming through in the span of about 7 days. So that's why such a historic event. We still have a winter storm warning in effect. You go back to last week, I believe we had a winter storm watch that was posted last Tuesday. And then it was upgraded to an ice storm warning. And then as soon as that was done, we were back into a winter storm watch for the next storm, and then a winter storm warning. And then we had the winter storm warning for the storm Sunday and Monday. That was in effect till yesterday afternoon. And then we skipped the watch and went right to another winter storm warning for this event that's coming up. And that warning goes until noon. So we'll have been under either a winter storm watch, winter storm warning, or ice storm warning in central Arkansas for roughly 9 days straight.
Wow.
Yeah, that's definitely very unusual. And Hayden just passed me a note here. He said that he was talking to the weather service here, and there really is not a comparable event to compare what's going on now to anything that's happened before. Well, we can't even say, well, this is kind of like the storm from 1956. We can't even do that because there's really just no precedent for having 3 back-to-back storms like this, at least in observable history, or recorded history, I should say. Now, the map that I have up right now, this is the snow depth, and this is as of this morning. There is snow on the ground as far south as the Texas and Louisiana Gulf Coast. 73% of the continental United States is now covered with snow, which I believe, Hayden, you said that's a record high for snow cover.
Yeah, records date back to 2003.
And that goes back. Those specific records only go back to 2003. So, I mean, there have been years before that where there's very likely been greater percentages than that, but that just gives you an idea of how much snow there is on the ground. What's interesting, you look at that map, and there's parts of northeast Montana and western North Dakota. They don't have any snow on the ground, but Arkansas does. All of Arkansas, most of Louisiana, most of Texas has snow on the ground. As a percentage, more of a percentage of Texas right now is covered with snow than North Dakota, and more of Louisiana is snow covered as a percentage of land area than North Dakota.
That really puts it into perspective, Jeff. Thank you. I want to point out, and you mentioned the, there's not really an event that we can compare this to. So what you're saying is, maybe 50, 75, 100 years from now, the National Weather Service could say, okay, this is like the winter storms of 2021.
If there was something like this that happened again, yeah, this would be the benchmark. Kind of like how 2012 really became the benchmark for a combined ice and snowstorm. It wasn't necessary. 2012 wasn't the biggest ice storm that Arkansas ever had, but it was the only one where there was a major ice storm followed by a major snowstorm, right? In the very same event. There really is not a lot of precedent for that. So 2012 really has become the benchmark recently for a winter storm in Arkansas. And in many ways, in some ways, this situation is worse than 2012, but in others, it's not nearly as bad. And the way that it's not nearly as bad is we have not had a major ice event. There was that threat with the first system. We were concerned about that for a while. It turned into more sleet than freezing rain, but we didn't see that heavy ice accumulation occur to bring down trees and power lines. So one thing that we have not seen are widespread, prolonged power outages in the state. There's been some power outages, especially due to the extremely cold temperatures. Texas has had a real problem with power outages. Fortunately, in Arkansas, we haven't had anything quite that severe, but it's still been a significant problem. You go back to 2012, you had people that were without power for a couple of weeks. You have rural areas where there may not have been power for over a month, but we're not dealing with anything like that, fortunately. So what that means is, once the snow melts, fortunately, then that's it. It's over with, and then things can go on as normal. With the big ice storm, that's not necessarily the case. There's severe impacts after an ice storm long after the ice melts, but with snow, once the snow is gone, that's it, storm over.
All right, Jeff Baskin is in the Weather Center. Jeff, there's a lot of new information that you guys are going to continue to review here, and we'll have a complete update coming up on KRK4 News. That begins in about 40 minutes at 4 o'clock, and then at Fox 16 News at 5:30. And I'm sure we'll be providing updates as well throughout the evening as some of this new data continues to trickle in. Again, that winter storm warning goes into effect in just hours at 6 o'clock. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to start snowing at 6. Jeff, you've done a great job trying to analyze this using all of your guys' graphics back there, and knowing that western Arkansas earlier tonight, mid-evening here for central Arkansas. So thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it.
All right. Well, you can be here. We'll be providing updates consistently on TV, Fox 16, KARK, as well as fox16.com, KARK.com, and our social media platforms. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter because we are constantly updating on social media, especially Twitter, just constant updates. So you can follow me, Jeff Baskin, Fox 16, the rest of the Arkansas Storm team to get the very latest information as it comes on in.
Jeff Baskin, thank you. Thanks for watching, everyone.